Before we dive into this NBA plot twist, make sure you're locked in with Ball IQ Zone. Because if you love real basketball drama, smart analysis, and stories that actually connect the dots, you're in the right place. Now let's talk about the bomb that just shook Dallas. A respected NBA insider just reported that a group of Dallas-based investors has shown serious interest in teaming up with Mark Cuban to potentially buy the Mavericks back from the current ownership group. Yes, buy them back. The same franchise Cuban sold. The same franchise that has been in nonstop chaos ever since. If that sounds like a Netflix script, you're not alone. Fans are already dreaming. Bring him back. Fix this mess. Reunite Luka in 2028. The emotional reaction is real, because to Dallas supporters, Cuban wasn't just an owner. He was the fan in the owner's chair. Loud, visible, invested, passionate. But here's the real question nobody wants to slow down and ask. If Cuban was the perfect owner, why did he sell in the first place? Let's talk numbers. Cuban sold roughly 70% of the Mavericks at a $3.5 billion valuation. That deal reportedly put around $2.4 to $2.5 billion in cash in his pocket, while still keeping a minority stake. The buyers? The Adelson and Dumont families, ultra-wealthy figures with deep ties to the global casino and resort business. At the time, Cuban publicly framed the sale as a financial upgrade for the franchise, saying the Mavericks would now have the resources to compete at the highest level. And on paper, that made sense. The team's valuation jumped into elite territory among NBA franchises. But here's where things get interesting. In today's NBA, money alone doesn't guarantee championships. The new collective bargaining agreement heavily restricts how teams can stack talent. Luxury tax penalties are brutal. Apron rules are unforgiving. You can't just outspend the league anymore. So if the goal was purely competitive advantage, was $3.5 billion really the ceiling? In an era where NBA franchises are selling for record-breaking numbers? Or was there a bigger, longer-term business play happening behind the scenes? Because the new ownership doesn't just bring capital, they bring influence, particularly in the gambling and resort industry. And that's where this story starts to shift from basketball drama into something much bigger. And what happened next might explain everything. The deeper you look into this situation, the less it feels like a simple ownership change, and the more it feels like a long-term business strategy that didn't go according to plan. Before purchasing the Mavericks, the Adelson family's long-term vision reportedly centered around expanding large-scale resort and casino development. Las Vegas Sands built its empire on destination gambling. The idea many analysts discussed? Turning parts of Texas into a similar high-revenue entertainment hub, if legislation ever allowed it. After Sheldon Adelson passed away in 2021, Miriam Adelson became the majority shareholder of the Las Vegas Sands Corporation. Not long after, the family acquired a controlling stake in the Mavericks. On paper, it looked like a basketball investment. But politically and financially, it also positioned them inside one of America's biggest untapped gambling markets. Public records show significant political spending tied to casino legalization efforts in Texas. Committees supporting gambling expansion have poured millions into campaigns backing candidates open to destination resort legislation. At the same time, powerful Texas lawmakers, including top state leadership, have consistently resisted broad gambling expansion. Several proposed initiatives have stalled, local opposition has been loud, and parts of large-scale resort proposals have reportedly been scaled back. So here's the tension. If the long-term upside was tied to legalized casino expansion, and that expansion isn't happening anytime soon, then what's the strategic value of owning the Mavericks? Because strictly from a basketball perspective, things haven't exactly been smooth. In the first season under new ownership influence, Dallas reached the NBA Finals. That momentum created optimism. But then came the seismic move. Luka Doncic traded for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a future first-round pick. A move that divided the fan base instantly. The reaction inside the arena was unforgettable. When ownership appeared publicly after the trade, boos echoed through the building. At multiple events, including franchise celebrations, even a simple acknowledgement of new ownership shifted the crowd's mood. The tension wasn't subtle, and that's where this becomes fascinating. If fan trust erodes, if basketball success stalls, and if political objectives face resistance, what's the next pivot? Relocation rumors once sounded absurd, The NBA rarely moves established franchises without extreme circumstances. But expansion? That's different. Multiple reports indicate the league's board of governors is seriously evaluating adding 2 expansion teams in the near future. Las Vegas is widely viewed as a leading candidate. The league already hosts Summer League there. Major events thrive there. Corporate infrastructure exists there. Now, imagine this scenario. Instead of moving a franchise, the league expands. A new Las Vegas team enters the NBA ecosystem entirely. And suddenly, the long-term chessboard starts looking very different. Now, here's where this entire situation shifts from interesting rumor to something that actually makes strategic sense. The NBA is widely expected to expand. Las Vegas and Seattle are consistently mentioned as the frontrunners. Expansion fees are projected to land around $6 to $7 billion per franchise, which would instantly make it the most expensive team entry in league history. So let's play this out logically. What if the current Dallas ownership group pivoted towards securing the Las Vegas expansion team, a market that directly aligns with their long-term resort and entertainment business model? And what if, in that same window, a Cuban-led investment group reacquired controlling interest in the Mavericks? No relocation drama, no messy legal fight, just expansion. From the league's perspective, that's clean. From a business standpoint, that's aligned. From a public relations angle, that might calm a furious Dallas fan base overnight. Now the obvious obstacle: money. Cuban sold the Mavericks at a $3.5 billion valuation. Expansion into Vegas could cost nearly double that. On the surface, buying back Dallas at a higher valuation sounds like a brutal financial move. Why sell at one number, then return at a much higher one? But here's the nuance. Franchise valuations across the NBA have surged. Media rights deals are exploding. Expansion fees inject billions into existing owners' pockets. If Cuban believes long-term NBA equity is still rising, reacquiring a franchise may not be about overpaying. It may be about positioning. And remember, Cuban never fully walked away. He retained a minority stake. That detail matters. Now let's address the emotional core of this entire story. Luka Doncic. He's under contract in Los Angeles through 2028. At that point, if eligible, the Lakers could offer him a 5-year supermax, potentially worth over $400 million. Dallas, under current rules, would only be able to offer a shorter-term deal worth significantly less. That's not a small gap. That's generational wealth level difference. So realistically, would Luka leave that kind of money on the table? Only if basketball circumstances changed dramatically. The Lakers would have to stall competitively. Roster construction would have to disappoint. Championship contention would need to fade, because financially, Los Angeles holds the advantage. But emotionally, Dallas still holds weight. When Luka returned to Dallas recently, he didn't sound bitter. He didn't sound detached. He said the city would always feel like home. That matters. Players don't forget where they became superstars. However, relationships matter too. Reports suggested that certain public comments from ownership during his departure didn't sit well with him. When leadership questions work ethic in comparison to all-time legends, it can create friction. Fair or unfair, those moments linger. Which brings us back to ownership. If a Cuban-led group regained control, that changes the tone entirely. Cuban and Luka shared a visible bond. Communication was open, support was public. That dynamic could matter in 2028. At the same time, there are strong indications Luka enjoys living in Los Angeles. Lifestyle matters. Market matters. Legacy opportunities matter. So this isn't a fairy tale prediction. It's leverage. And here's why this entire pipe dream refuses to die. The Mavericks have already done the improbable multiple times in just a few years. They traded a generational superstar. They absorbed backlash. They landed the #1 overall pick despite microscopic lottery odds. With this franchise, chaos isn't rare, it's routine. So while a Cuban return once sounded impossible, in the context of expansion, shifting ownership priorities, political resistance in Texas, and long-term league economics, it's not crazy. It's complicated. It's high stakes, but it's not crazy. And in today's NBA, where billion-dollar decisions are made behind closed doors, sometimes the wildest scenarios are the ones quietly being discussed the most.